Hello and welcome to How Credit for Prior Learning Works for Military Learners in Their Own Words. I'm Dr. Lisa Ferris McCann. I'm the Director of Psychometrics and Product Quality for the American Council on Education, and I will be your monitor for today's discussion. We all know that credit for prior learning awarded to the military connected learners for the education, training, and experience that allows those individuals to shorten the time to certificate or degree and recognizes the mastery of subject matter, ultimately reducing the cost to those learners. Statistics have demonstrated that individuals who are granted credit for prior learning are more likely to complete and more likely to return to the granted institution. And additionally, broader connections are being forged along the way, connecting workforce and education to provide those accessible career pathways for our learners. In 2024, the American Council on Education launched today's Military Learner Initiative. It was a comprehensive national strategy designed to enhance post-secondary educational opportunities for military learners, approximately 1.6 million strong, including active duty service members, veterans, National Guard members, and their families. This initiative is supported by a $500,000 grant from the Lilly Endowment. The program is aimed to expand the use of credit for prior learning and to empower military learners, helping them to achieve their educational goals. The two state systems that are working with us are Georgia and Indiana, and they've joined us in this effort, showcasing the pioneering work that has created extensive pathways for military-connected learners in their state. With that, I would like to have our panelists introduce themselves, and we're going to start with Tammy Bartlett.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for allowing me to be here with you today. My name is Tammy Bartlett, student, and I'm from Student Veterans of America.
Hello, my name is Javier Marin. I am from Vantage Point. I am a United States Marine. I served for 10 years.
Good afternoon. Thank you for letting me be here. My name is Kokila Ravi. I'm from Atlanta Metropolitan State College. I'm the director of online and specialized programs here, and I also am the coordinator for adult learners. Pleasure to meet you all.
Hello, thank you for inviting us all. My name is Ashley Travis. I'm the Adult Learner Coordinator at Gordon State College, a member of the University System of Georgia.
Hello, everyone. My name is Allegra Fowler. I'm at Purdue University Global, where I act as the Executive Director of our Center for Prior Learning Recognition.
Hi, my name is Kate Marling. I'm with the Indiana Commission for Higher Education, where I'm a post-secondary transitions manager, where I manage the Indiana Collegiate Purple Star Award designation.
Well, I want to thank you all for joining us today. It is going to be a whirlwind hour as we move through this webinar. I'd like to start with our military learners. And specifically, I wonder if you could share with us a little bit of your journey and something that was an assistance to you. For instance, student services support. Javier, can you share that a little?
Yes, I can. For me, we had a student veteran center, which was my lifesaver. Had a one point of contact that had access to all the other sections, such as the registrar's office, financial aid, the bursar's office, admission. So them being the one point of contact to assist me to navigate the college environment was I couldn't have done it without that. Um, Especially since I'm the first person to go to college in my family. I had no assistance outside of that, so that was instrumental. And also, I was able to network there, meet other veterans that were in the same position as myself. So I can't imagine not having that as a support system.
That is truly amazing. I'm wondering, with those student support for services and that center that you had, the veteran center that you had, did they help you navigate through any barriers that you initially hit and went to them for help?
Yes. So I was using the Chapter 33 VA benefits. And while that is very helpful, it pays for tuition and fees, it only provides a $1,000 stipend for books. And that's not enough for especially for the accountants. Our books are very expensive and it easily ate through that $1,000. So they assisted me with finding scholarships with institutional scholarships and third-party scholarships. So once again, like I couldn't have done it. I thought about quitting at some point because it was becoming rather expensive. So it, they helped me navigate all that.
Thank you. Tammy, I'm wondering, you bring a really unique lens because not only have you been a student veteran, you're still a veteran, but you're not a student anymore, but you also are a part of the Student Veterans of America. Can can you share with us a little bit about how that journey happened?
Of course. And thank you for the question and thank you for today. Um, so I served 8 years in the Coast Guard, got out due to an injury, so something I had not planned. But went about a journey through pharmacy technician for about 10 years, but then my disability started getting in the way of my employment. So I sought some help through the VA. I got connected to a social worker who walked me down to the VRNE office, vocational readiness and employment, and helped me pursue my career of higher education and beyond so. And since I enjoyed the pharmacy world so much, we figured public health would be the best fit. So I pursued an undergrad in public health and then a master's in public health. And while I was there, well, even before attending school, looking at my transcripts as an operations specialist in the Coast Guard, who specialized in air direction controlling and rapid radar class, search and rescue, not much of that transferred very well into degree applied classes. So it took up a lot of my electives. So as I was pursuing my undergrad, all of my classes throughout the semester to keep my full-time status were degree specific.
Oh,
I did have a degree advisor at Temple who understood that I was volunteering at the local VA medical center in their infectious disease department and was able to count the research I was doing there in their hand hygiene initiative towards some of my degree specific electives.
oh, wow. That is an incredible connection. So how did your journey get you to the Student Veterans of America? That's a long way
Um,
from public health.
yes. Um, while attending Temple as a student veteran, using VA education benefits, it was required of me to attend like a veteran slash military orientation where there was an SVA chapter table there called Temple Veterans Association. Although it wasn't until the second year there I finally got involved. I took a year just trying to adjust myself to an urban environment coming from rural Pennsylvania. But once I'd done so, I got very involved. I was a veteran volunteer coordinator, soon became vice president, and then attending SVA's regional summit here in DC, followed by their national conference. And while at their national conference, which if you've never been to NatCon, I highly recommend it. I'll plug it. It's always the beginning of the year.
Absolutely.
January 4th through 6th. We are in Dallas, Texas in 2027. It's the largest gathering of student veterans in the world, basically. But past Secretary Bob McDonald was there, and he had made mention how we were all leaders and we couldn't leave change to chance. So I looked at my friend who I met the year before, and I was like, that's it. I want to no longer become an epidemiologist. I want to do veteran advocacy. So I took the opportunity there at NACON to talk to those who were doing that type of work and soon found myself in DC pursuing my MPH at GW and working for the American Legion and VFW as far as healthcare legislation. And oh well, still keeping my connection with SVA as an alumni. And when this position came open, I pursued it, knowing that I would have a learning curve of higher education, but I wanted to bring my background in public health and mental health and suicide prevention to ensure that student veterans are represented at these tables and individuals know within, especially VHA, the Veterans Health Administration, that student veterans have a lot of barriers and a lot of things going on, but they still need their physical and mental health benefits.
Sounds like you got some pretty good advice.
I did. I certainly did.
And Javier, I know that your journey was just about as convoluted as Tammy's, but can you focus in a little bit on that advising and how you ended up at Vantage Point?
So receiving the type of service that I received while at the university that I attended, uh, made me want to do the same, to assist other veterans in navigating the educational benefits, which is it's not simple to understand when you first start. So I became a school certifying official for the university I attended and a couple other universities after that. It was a passion of mine to assist veterans and military members in using VA benefits, tuition assistance, and I saw a position at Vantage Point to assist with the Army school support system, and I jumped right on it. And now I get to work with the greatest team ever. We're all passionate about Army tuition assistance and helping soldiers reach their goals. Even if we don't get to see them face to face and talk to them, we help all the universities that use Army tuition assistance. So that's kind of how I got there.
Just curious, I have to ask this question. You said, you wanted to help others the way you had been helped. What was one of the key, not necessarily individuals, but what was one of the key things that you experienced during your education journey that made the difference?
I guess it was one of the first math classes that I had to take, and I was actually having a pretty hard time just navigating through it. And I went to the Veterans Center and talked to the school certifying official, and he helped me. He tutored me. He found other students that could help me as well. And
Interesting.
it just that was great. After that, I knew I had somebody to have my back, other students, and along with the SEO there.
That is very interesting. Two very different pathways, but at the same time, you're both incredibly committed, and thank you very much for that commitment to helping and assisting and, reaching back, help the next one forward. That's how things work. So thank you very much for that. I think we're going to take just a little bit of a digression from our panel, and this is where the audience gets to participate because we're going to have one poll question coming up right now. Can we cue that? Take just about 30 seconds or so and answer the question. Take a single choice. Host and panelists cannot vote. Oh, man. We don't get to do anything.
Lisa, if I may, real quickly, I know Javier had mentioned how when he was a student, like $1,000 didn't go too far annually for book stipend. So Javier, unfortunately, it's still like that, but SBA is forefront advocating for at least an increase to $1,400 annually. The bill number is HR 1965, and then also codify for inflation. So we don't have to come back and keep asking for more money for books and other supplies.
Love that. Thank you so much for all the work you do.
That's amazing. If you take a look at our answers here, this actually has changed since the last time we put this poll out, because the last time was about 3 years ago, and the strongest one was an admissions decision. The first here clear explanation of their CPL option came when they had to make a decision to admit. And now we're in pre-admissions, which is encouraging to me. because I really think that it is so important that our military connected learners know going in heads up what their options are before they commit. So thank you for making that change, all you higher ed guys. Good job. Good job. I want to thank you both for your insights. I want to just move now, if we can, to institution level. I know it says segment 3, but that's because I can't type. With the institution level folks, we're going to take one step up from the student, from the learner, and look at things that are going on in our institutions and how they are advocating those CPL policies and those systems. One of the things that I would like to focus a little bit on are some advising best practices. And I'm just wondering if, Kokila, can you maybe share a little bit about your advising practices and how that looks at your institution?
Thank you so much. It was nice to see that 50% were kind of unsure. During our new student orientation, our adult learner webpage is shown to the students. We share it with all our students. This page houses our CPL opportunities, policies, procedures, etc., and the contact information for the veteran director as well as adult learner coordinator. The seed is planted here. So they can start thinking about their CPL options. Faculty also play a very key role in this. So faculty are very aware of our CPL policy. So they also, when they detect that a student has potential, they send them my way. That's actually the hardest thing, capture students at the right time. Advisors also play a very key role in making sure students get to see the adult learner coordinator at the earlier stages of their academic tenure. Luckily, my office is right next to the Center for Academic Advising. So before students walk away, I can catch them. They will write to me. So these are the ways in which we generate awareness and also in at a timely point capture students.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Ashley, I know that Gordon State's doing magnificent things.
Yes, well, thanks to all the wonderful support by our USG, who is very gung-ho with transfer student awareness the last several years. Faculty play a large role in the assessment of these as our subject matter experts. Dr. Ravi is very right about that. We actually created this position just a year ago, so I was kind of doing it undercover before that with my supervisor, the assistant vice president for academic affairs. And we decided that there's so many students that we need to probably make someone do this full time. But we created communication through the admissions office with our new application software that anyone 23 and up, we kind of picked an age to start with to try to capture our adult learners, that tells them 3 days after they get admitted, here are all of the resources that we have for our adult and non-trad student veterans. Here's information on credit for prior learning. Here's how you order your JST. Don't forget to submit these transcripts and immunizations. The online students don't love the immunization so much, but just gentle reminders for don't forget to submit this stuff while you're doing your application. And then another separate email goes out 3 days after they apply, get admitted. So it's very helpful to give them all that information and the websites up front so that they're not feeling lost by the time they get here for new student orientation. And then I also am more of a concierge service for them. So I catch our transfer students as they're getting admitted and wanting to get scheduled for classes. So I help them with their credit for prior learning and any degree works issues that we come across with petitions and things like that, and transfer credit that may not have been articulated the same way. So kind of an all hands on deck situation.
It's a lot. Just curious about how many military connected students do you have?
Well, we have around 60 student veterans and probably around maybe 80 to 100 that are either the dependents or spouses,
Yeah.
military connected in that way.
Mhm.
So it's a smaller amount of the student veteran and military connected population, but we have close to 800 adult learners. So they have credit for prior learning coming out from all sorts of locations.
And you get to keep track of it. Good job.
I
I'm
have help,
wondering,
lots of people.
I'm wondering, as long as we're chatting a little bit here, and Kokila, I'm going to get back to you as well. What is the biggest bottleneck that you see? Is it policy clarity? Is it turnaround time? What do you see?
So for me personally, what I have seen, and it has definitely gotten a lot better, is the communication and having other people on campus know about all of this and advocate to the students for this. If they slip through the cracks, we try to catch them early with those admissions communications, but they don't always read everything that they get through email. So making sure that the faculty mentors and the professional advisors know, oh, hey, this student has a really interesting background. Let me send them to Ashley to talk about different credit for prior learning opportunities.
Kokila, what do you see are bottlenecks?
Again, like Ashley says, communication is a huge bottleneck for us too. So we established a college-wide CPL committee. So this helped us create sort of awareness and enabling time communication to students. This committee comprises of advisors, registrar, faculty representatives, staff from financial aid, counseling, and academic support services. So much every single unit of the institution represented. And we meet often and discuss what sort of wraparound services we provide these students. The return on investment in this initiative is very rich because the students kind of feel like they have a friend in each unit, so, or at least a champion in it, and who is well aware of the policies and procedures that pertain to adult learners. So this sort of helps eliminate a sense of isolation that some of our veterans and adult learners feel when they re-enter campus after a hiatus. So I would think the CPL communication is a huge barrier, and the CPL committee helps ensure that they have a friend in each college unit.
That's wonderful. I appreciate both of your insights. I'm sure since a lot of what you're saying, I'm sure probably resonates with our audience. They also find barriers, but there are ways to navigate through them. We need to take another pause here. We have another poll. Take a quick second, 30 seconds. Oh, look at that. Like I even know. Interesting. Wow, that's pretty evenly balanced. Again, these polls are something that we did 3 years ago, just to kind of benchmark. Transfer alignment was up there, but so was faculty buy-in, and that's actually gone down. So faculty are buying in more. That's good. Faculty, I was faculty. I get it. There's a lot going on, but very interesting. Thank you. Thank you for participating. So with that, we're going to move on to hear from states. Our state level advocates that are here today are going to share with us some of the thoughts they have. And now that we're looking at state levels, and understand every state is organized just a little differently, but there are some commonalities that we can all take away. And I guess I want to start, and Allegra, I'm going to put you on the spot. I wondered, can you talk a little bit about statewide policies or frameworks, things that could standardize CPL within your system?
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. So in the state of Indiana, we pulled together representatives from institutions across the state to tackle this problem together. And what we found that was in developing our own framework, how should we engage in CPL more generally, but specifically for military CPL, which is, it has its own flavor. There's so much nuance, and there's really a lot of institutional expertise spread out at different schools across the state. But until we got together and really talked about it, there wasn't a good level of standardization. And I think that was the first challenge that we really recognized and raised was CPL is complicated when you're looking at one institution. And then when you start to stack these institutions together in a broader group, the complexity multiplies. And so our first order of business was transparency and standard terminology. We found that by establishing common terms for things, we could really start to have more dynamic conversations about what different institutions were doing so that we could share transparently, what's a best practice that we're seeing implemented over at this institution, but how is this other institution doing something similar, maybe a little bit differently? And we also started to build an understanding of the relationships between the different types of institutions in the state and how they would need to meet the needs of their students specifically, because not every school is the same. And so this great outreach of let's pull together everyone's perspective and then bring it together into some things that are true across the entire state, I think was a really important foundation for making sure that when we built statewide kind of more formal structures, it was informed by the diverse perspectives that were represented from the different institutions. And I would just double click on transparency. Having been in this military CPL space for quite some time, I can't tell you how many times I was sitting at my desk and just having this feeling that I had a question and I had confusion and I did not know where to go with that as the person who's really supposed to know that answer. And so by opening up these statewide networks and these statewide conversations, we now created space for those conversations to happen and to share the expertise, being transparent with other institutions, as well as being transparent with our students, I think made all of those recommendations really salient. And that led to some of the structures of the Indiana Purple Star Initiative.
Very interesting. Speaking of, Kate.
Yes, thank you. So the Indiana Commission for Higher Education is it's not a governing body, we're a coordinating body. So our role at the table is to really kind of champion what we think needs to be championed, but really encourage and support the campuses in implementing the things that really they can communicate about and build together. So it was in, I want to say like 2023 that we really started championing the CPL model. And then it wasn't until I believe March of 2024 that we were actually able to get out the Indiana model credit for prior learning policy guidance. All at sort of the same time, we were also tasked, Senate Bill 384 from 2023 tasked us, the Commission for Higher Education, as well as the Department of Veterans Affairs, with establishing the Collegiate Purple Star Award of Indiana, which is my role and it has a small piece of the CPL in there. It's basically the mission of that is to recognize eligible post-secondary institutions that have successful and have demonstrated supportive environments for their United States military affiliated student population. So when I was hearing earlier from Tammy and Javier, it was so great to hear about orientation touch points, because that's a part of the Collegiate Purple Star Initiative, as well as we have a standard in there specifically about CPL. So making sure that institutions who have adopted either the Indiana model or just their own institution policy are putting that on their website in a way that is clear to students, meeting ACE standards. It has at least a 50 or higher for CLEP. All of that information is clear and on websites for students. So that is a small part of the Collegiate Purple Star Award designation.
Wow. And you started that initiative, I'm sorry, 2023?
Yes, so it took a while to get everyone to the table, but once we did, we had institutions, stakeholders, the Department of Veterans Affairs, and ourselves, and several other individuals get together, create this whole field guide, which is on our website. It's a huge document that is for public consumption, but we use that as guidance to the institutions. Our first application cycle was the 24-25 cycle, so we were able to receive applications from several institutions and give designations to, I believe, about 28 institutions, Purdue Global included. And so we are well on our way into the next application cycle. That designation is a 3-year designation, but of course we get applications each year as new institutions want a designation, or they may update policies to hopefully get a higher tier.
Wow. Very, very neat stuff. I want to pivot just a little and bring up the one word that everybody hates, funding. Oh no. And I guess, I'm going to start with you, Allegra. What guidance, what funding levers will help institutions and turnaround targets? What are your insights on that?
Yeah, so what I would say is in this whole MCPL space, it's a really big space, and institutions who desire to be better at this, I think, are often looking at, like, we need this big, wonderful, comprehensive solution. Like, I need $1 million website and that's going to solve all my problems. And boy, don't we all really need $1 million to make a cool website. But what I would recommend to individuals is that this is a very incremental space. And perfect cannot be the enemy of good in terms of seeking out opportunities to do incremental progress into developing additional credit opportunities, finding additional projects and funding opportunities. However, however they are sized, what I think holds people back in some ways is just the whole scope of it. For example, when we were building the model policy guidance in the state of Indiana, I was working with a colleague who was new to MCPL, and he said, "Can I just have some time to talk to you?" He said, "I don't know where to get started. It all sounds so important and the whole thing needs to be done, but I don't even know where to get started." And we sat down and we looked through his academic catalog and we talked a little bit about the student population, and together we kind of carved out a little slice. And I said, these are some military occupations that you can look at in terms of building up that portfolio of opportunities. And so I think that applies to the funding strategy as well. If you're working on internal standardization that positions you to place requests for funding, work on getting your shop in order, and then finding those opportunities really just involves looking for the projects that align to your initiatives.
Interesting. Very interesting. Kokila, can you share a little bit about funding at the University of Georgia?
Thank you. Thank you so much. I will build on Allegra's foundation because the University System of Georgia also did pretty much something very similar. We go way back. In 2011, we had an adult learning consortium. This was a consortium of about 11 institutions out of 36 institutions at the University System of Georgia. It was a beautiful opportunity for us all to come together, flesh out all of our differences, and come together in framing uniform CP policy that all institutions could accept and agree on. Each year we had small grant funding, $25,000 that we could use for various initiatives. And one of the important things that we did was create our own webpage, institutional webpage, articulating our CPL policies, and then training faculty in portfolio assessment methods. These were some of the foundational things that we did at the beginning. And then after the grant ran out, we established a Regents Advisory Council for adult learners. So each institution had a representative. So we were still together and discussing and networking and coming up with solutions to our problems. We continue to get a small funding. Funding is pretty small, but among the different initiatives that we do with that small amount, I want to focus on one thing, which is our faculty training. We use this grant funding for training faculty in infusing adult learning strategies in their courses. These are exact same courses. We developed some adult learner focused courses. They are called ALF. And these are exactly the same course learning objectives, same textbooks, same learning activities, same assessments. Everything is the same, except that instructors were sensitive to adult learners' needs and veterans' needs and shape the course, infuse these adult learning strategies in these courses. So they were very helpful in enabling adult learners to seamlessly enter the academic fold from their work experience, or they've been a few years away from the academic environment. So this was helpful to them. We also gave a small stipend to faculty for developing synchronized online courses. These are online courses, but faculty and students log in at the same time. So while adult learners and veterans enjoy having online learning experience, it's a little difficult for them to adapt to that modality. So these synchronized online courses were extremely helpful to them. This is the way we have been using the small funding. It's pretty small, but it is extremely useful in offering stipends to faculty, a small incentive for them to get trained in this modality.
Thank you. That's fascinating. And it goes along to the same lines of, you can stretch a dollar. And your words resonate with me, Allegra, because don't let good get in the way of perfect, or don't let perfect get in the way of good. Start at the minimum viable product and work from there. I'm wondering, Tammy and Javier, I made an assumption, and I could be wrong, that you both used TA dollars in one manner or another. Was there someone outside of your certifying official that you could reach out to for the best way to use those?
No,
So
no.
it was the certifying official. They play a key role and often have those little nuggets of information in funding your education. Just like this book cost $1,200 and I only have 1,000. Man, those are expensive. So I appreciate that. I do. Rolling back to the institutions for just one quick minute here, I'm wondering, either, and Ashley, maybe you can shed some light on this. Faculty involvement in credit for prior learning. How do you find your champion? She's laughing at me. Did you see that?
Well, several of my champions found me, so
Oh.
they came begging to get involved. So we're really grateful for them. I just so happen to have worked with several of them in a previous department before I moved into this department. That's where I started my career here at Gordon 13 years ago. I was just a baby who didn't know anything about higher ed at the time, but so they are very much committed to hyping our adult and veterans up and making sure that they're aware of the options and the opportunities. We have a faculty senate because we have shared governance here. I don't know what it's like elsewhere, but we've been able to go to those meetings and talk about this. We have a CPL policy, and I'm sure not everyone has read it. It's not a super long policy, but it's about 20 pages, and just making sure that they're aware of that, aware of the website, aware of if they have any questions, they can call me directly or shoot me an email. So it's that communication piece, and the faculty that have heard the message get very excited and want to be involved. some subjects lend themselves better to especially JST evaluation than others. Tammy was talking about electives earlier. We love our elective space because that's where we fit things that don't always exactly fit in a perfect mold. You know, like math and English are very specific, so they need to be taken typically, or I advocate for CLEP a lot. I did CLEP myself personally. So I love to tell our adult learners, go to the English CLEP. You can get English 1 and 2. But like colloquiums, we have critical thinking areas in our core in the USG. So utilizing those leadership skills or those supervisory skills as special topics and colloquiums is also very helpful. And having those subject matter experts in our faculty sign off on those has been instrumental in making this work.
Everybody tells me it takes a village, but it does. It takes a village. I have a question. I'm going to throw this open to the whole panel because I don't even know who can answer this one. So if there's more than one answer, and there probably is, jump on in. The question is, if you could give one policy recommendation, and I would even include our learners in this question. If you could give one policy recommendation to the registrars and admissions, what would it be? Go ahead.
Streamline petitions.
Streamline petitions.
Yes, substitution requests out to wazoo. It's a bit of a lengthy process here. I think that would be my one request.
I'm going to add mandatory orientation every year, regardless if you're a freshman, a transfer student, or a senior, and ensuring that in the orientation, those key players in other departments show up, and then also reaching out to the campus staff who are veterans, and maybe initiating a way to have some type of mentorship program with a professor or a campus employee and a student veteran or military connected student.
That's brilliant. Why are we
I
doing
think
that?
that a lot of universities are already doing this, but transparency for credit for prior learning upfront, so the veteran knows exactly how those credits are being applied and what is being applied from the GIST.
Mm-hmm.
I would kind of build on that. Accept the recommendations from ACE. I know that sounds so foundational, but the fact that we still have military learners who are having to knock on doors just to get that JST considered, we got it. We can do way better than that, team. And further, I would say that institutions need to stay abreast of the additional information that ACE has built. For example, in the military guide, that when you looked at it a decade ago, it was good, but now there's so much additional information in there. There are learning outcomes that if you don't know that those are available, they're available to the faculty. It can tell you exactly in academic terminology what that individual service member learned during that experience or course. So we have it as a catalog policy. ACE recommendations will be accepted, and I think that although that's a lot, it's really appropriate.
Thank you for that. I didn't put that plug in on us, folks. But I do. I'm firmly committed to ACE and the work that they do here. And being from a military family, I've seen the impact directly. And so I appreciate that and appreciate that mention. I was wondering, I've got some questions coming in Q&A, and one of them is, again, in an ideal world, we're moving to the ideal plane here. How should institutions communicate the CPL options that are available so that the learner can act earlier? And again, I would probably defer to Javier and Tammy first, but everybody's welcome to join in with their look at it. But how could they communicate CPL options so that the learners can act earlier, so that their pathway is even that much more shortened? One suggestion.
Oh, I have two. The one would be having something either on the website for the institution or on the state that a veteran can plug in their credentials, and then it can spit out what classes that could cover at what universities. I think Tennessee or South Carolina does something very similar to that. The other is for the institution itself to have a relationship with the local VA, VRNE counselor, that vocational readiness and employment counselor, because those VRCs are making those employment plans / education plans with those veterans as they go upon through that program.
Interesting. Any other thoughts? Go on, I know you will.
I guess just as Tammy mentioned earlier, that initial orientation, to have that included in there, since most students, veteran students, are using the Chapter 33 to begin with, and then transferring over to the Chapter 31.
I agree with that. Communicating early, the website especially is very important to me because I have all the resources on our websites directly to where you order your JST, where you get your Chapter 33 or your dependent spouse benefits. Here's the form of how to submit those benefits, and an exact, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps to actually getting those benefits assigned here. And then all the different credit for prior learning options with links to ACE, which is instrumental in my joint service transcript reviews. It has been great having this new admission software the last 1.5 to 2 years, because we have timed communication and it's built into the system. So as they are applying, they are getting timely communication on different matters. So it's very helpful to have, I know technology costs money and we don't like to talk about budget, but it is nice.
Back to funding. Yes, and technology is a necessary evil. We all have to build it sometime. Got a couple of questions here. One's from guidance. Some veterans are concerned that when they submit their JST to academic advisors, that the credit is being added based on academic advisor discretion and interpretation. Some veterans believe they are being slighted. And is there any guidance on this? Any words of wisdom?
I would kind of double down on what Ashley just said. I think it's really important that institutions have a transparent policy and transparent practice about how this whole thing is going to connect. And different institutions do treat this differently. There, different representatives are in charge of this function based on what school you're at. Like, it might be the advisor's job to do that credit application, or it might be the registrar's office, or it might be the admissions folks, or it might be in financial aid. And I don't think that any of that is fundamentally problematic. What I think is important is that there's transparency about what the expected process is, and that the individuals who are expected to complete that evaluation are appropriately trained. So wherever they live in the organization, I don't think is really super concerning, but it would be more so, is that person equipped to make the decisions that are necessary to place the credit appropriately on the student's program of study? And I suppose that would be a situation where, hopefully somebody could advocate on the behalf of the student to make sure that that process is being followed and they're getting a fair shake.
Well, Kate, there's a personal request for Kate Manning. Could you drop into the chat the link to the work you referenced with the Purple Star? We've gotten quite a bit of that stirred quite a bit of interest. Good job. Yeah, very interesting. I'm wondering, veterans, I mean, I've got a comment here. The state of Ohio has what's called MTAG, which is military equivalencies for all Ohio public schools. But at Kent State, which is this individual school, it also includes them in our public transfer guide. The veteran office also links to our credit transfer pages, but how much of that website visibility is top of the veterans' priorities? I guess the question is, what is the best way to reach veteran students, military-connected students, and what is the best way to get them to self-identify? That question actually resonates with me because I worked on a campus where veterans did not want to self-identify, and yet there were all of these benefits for them. So are there initiatives going on, state initiatives, institutional initiatives that make that easier?
We are a small institution, and you said that exactly right. I mean, a lot of our veterans do not self-identify. So I believe it is very important to have transparent policies. Not only transparent policies, but communication is key. I think buy-in from every single unit of the institution is essential so that everyone understands the minute they see a veteran, they should send them towards the veterans coordinator and make sure that the veteran gets the credit he or she deserves. So communication is key, and transparency definitely is helpful.
Great.
I think also keeping in mind that not every veteran is using a VA education benefit. That benefit might have expired for them, or they've completed it. So they may be there on campus paying out of their own pocket, or their employer is supporting them on this next degree pursuit. I also will say, for me, that first interaction of having that orientation, the two individuals that sat at the Temple Veteran Association table were two men. And so as a woman veteran who even at that time really didn't identify as a veteran, it was difficult for me to feel comfortable enough to get involved. So I think if they see a plethora of leadership in their student veteran chapter, they'll be more inclined to participate. And then also keeping in mind that an SVA chapter is just not for the student veterans and the military connected students, family members, caregivers, and survivors, but also those that want to be connected to that population. One of the things that is a requirement for an SVA chapter is that you are a college recognized club. So you have to be open to everyone to participate.
College recognized club. I like that. I have a question, and we only have a couple more. They're coming in volume. So we're not going to be able to get to them all, but we'll get to as many as we can. Javier and Tammy, question is, how satisfied were you on how their JST credits were applied in your educational experience?
In my experience, it wasn't very transparent. Essentially, they were just added, and I went to meet with my counselor where I was introduced to the courses I would be taking, and not till later where I got my footing to the academics that how it actually transpired, which was much too late. I did apply to other universities, and some of them told me a number, but none of them really told me, well, this course you took in the military correlates to this course that's being replaced here. So mostly elective. And I was one of those students that took a lot of MCIs, or one of those Marines that took a lot of MCIs during downtime. So I have a plethora of them.
That doesn't surprise me. Kate, what was the biggest aha moment from the collegiate Purple Star work in Indiana? And if you were to launch it again, what would you do differently?
That's a good question. I mean, the sheer volume of documentation we received was a little bit of a surprise for us, I think. We gave a lot of examples, I think, in our field guide. So I think institutions were really great about providing examples that could meet those standards. But we've talked a little bit about just sort of website and communication to students. I think there is some difference between institutions in terms of their website user experience. There were some institutions, I think, who do a really good job of directing students through a clicking process to find the answers that they want. And there are some institutions that I think need to focus a little bit more on that. In terms of rollout, I think it was fairly successful that first year. There are probably some kinks we could work out. I think at that 3-year mark, where more institutions will either renew or will have a higher volume, what I would recommend that we do is maybe host a webinar on sort of how to apply and meet the standards. I think the field guide is, in my opinion, very clear, but I have read it multiple times. So I would love to be able to sort of guide the institutions into providing as little documentation as possible to meet the standards so that the committee that is reviewing this can do it hopefully in a shorter timeline. Right now, we're on a 3-month timeline for evaluating all of these applications. But overall, I think we've done a really good job, and the institutions have been really great at making sure the standards that they are meeting are documented correctly.
Well, I want to thank all of you. Thank you so much for your insights and your wonderful comments and wonderful suggestions. I have one more poll question. One more poll question coming up right now. Which state level change would most accelerate CPL consistency in institutions? Pick one. And the drum roll is... I have one poll question and I have one parting gift. Look at that. For those of you who came to the webinar, I have a parting gift for you. And I think you're going to like it. 30 seconds on our poll coming up soon. And the winners are Central Equivalency Database. Look at that. Data interoperability and exchange. If we could just have one database. How many times do you say that within your own system? If we could just have one database. I want one more thing, and that is building credit for prior learning momentum microcourse is now live on the AC Engage platform. There are 7 instructional modules. There's resources and all sorts of things. It is absolutely jam-packed, full of information on credit for prior learning, how to build momentum, how to build, you name it, it's in there. There's so much stuff. Now, here's my parting gift to you. Because you have participated in this webinar today, we have a promo code. You'll need to contact, email ppq@acenet.edu. PPQ stands for Psychometrics and Product Quality. ppq@acenet.edu, and we will provide you with a promo code so that you will be able to use the ACE pricing and instead of the non-member pricing. Da, 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 da. So we give you a discount on that. It is worth every single dime. It's been about 8 months in the making. It is one of the products that has come out of this Lilly grant and the foundation that work with the Lilly Endowment. And all of the good information that we were able to mine from discussion boards and surveys and all sorts of interaction with both Indiana and Georgia. I want to publicly thank all of you for taking the time to be here today. And thank everybody who attended. I appreciate you coming. If you have any questions, ppq@acenet.edu. We will follow up on those. It has been recorded. And with that, I will say thank you for your day. Enjoy the rest of your week. Thanks so much, folks. Bye-bye.